In the middle of the vast ocean, where the waves constantly beat the shore day and night, the journey of catching sea scallops begins before dawn. This is not just a job, it is life, and also the perseverance of the brave fishermen. Today, let's drift with us on a boat in the middle of the ocean. The giant fishing boat began to enter the deep sea, the place known as the treasure of the ocean. Amidst the cold wind and the rolling waves, the dense coils of nets were prepared to be lowered into the sea. Everything was ready for a quiet hunt, to hunt for delicious, precious sea scallops, a gift from nature after many days of waiting. When the signal was given, the crew quickly took their positions. The giant crane slowly moved, pulling the heavy net from the deep sea. Each mesh of the net was soaked with seawater, revealing the silhouettes of thousands of freshly caught sea scallops, a real treasure gradually revealed amidst the damp hold and the relentless waves. The crane slowly lifted the net high into the air, carrying hundreds of kilograms of clams that had just been scooped up from the ocean floor. With a gentle twist, the net opened, releasing the entire loot onto the deck. The entire ship seemed to wake up, ready to move on to the next stage of sorting and collection. After many hours of drifting, the first results appeared. The sparkling white seashells, still clinging to the seawater, poured into the hold of the ship along with the heavy net. The sound rang out crisply, mixed with the sound of the waves and the wind like a special symphony in the vast ocean. This was the moment when all the effort, sweat and waiting were worthily rewarded. As dawn broke through the clouds, the ship readied itself once more for a new voyage. On the deck, covered in frost, the fishermen donned their winter gear, prepared their gear, plastic baskets, and storage compartments. In a few minutes, the ship would be gliding into the resource-rich waters, where precious clams were waiting to be pulled up from the icy depths. In front of us is the result of many hours of netting. Large, heavy clam traps are lifted by crane onto the ship's hold in the early morning sunlight. Workers in warm clothing do not hesitate, quickly getting into position, preparing for the selection stage, separating the standard clams and putting them into the next processing stage. This is the time when skill, patience and extensive experience are needed to ensure that only the best clams are kept. Inside the ship's hold, the selection and processing process begins. Large, firm-shelled, qualified clams are separated with skilled hands and specialized knives. Workers quickly open each clam shell, revealing the ivory white, fatty meat inside. This is the most quintessential part, the reason why clams are always classified as high-class seafood. After hours of hard work amidst the wind and cold, it is time for fishermen to relax a little. A can of water, a distant look at the horizon, enough to dispel some of the fatigue. At sea, joy is simple, just a moment of peace. A deep breath in the salty air is enough to give strength for the next journey. Each layer of rough shell is carefully peeled off, revealing the smooth, shiny white meat. The standard, large, even and firm clams are quickly put into brine tanks to maintain their freshness. All will be transferred directly to cold storage, waiting for the day to dock and reach consumers. Each piece of clam meat is the result of much effort, of the vast ocean, and of people who have spent their lives attached to the waves and winds. Inside the ship, the holds were filled with seashells layer upon layer, stacked like a golden brown treasure from the ocean. This was the result of hours of hard work in the cold sea. When the holds were full, it was time for the ship to turn around and return, bringing the precious products of the sea back to the mainland. A successful trip, a fruitful day of fishing. On deck, the work continues in a frenzy. Red plastic baskets and green barrels full of clams are dumped into the hold one by one. Each basket tilts. This is the final step before the ship leaves the fishing grounds, carrying not only clams, but also the efforts and hopes of people living with the wind and waves. And then, after the hold was neatly packed, the ship continued its journey, heading straight out to sea, overcoming the white-capped waves. It carried the hope for a new fishing trip. The cycle of making a living never stopped. They understood that every time they set sail, it was another time to bet with their own strength, experience, and faith in the ocean. Heavy iron cages are pulled up from the seabed. Inside is a golden batch of sea clams that have just been caught. In the golden sunset light, the fishermen quickly put the cages into the hold and immediately start sorting. Each clam after being harvested must undergo a strict size check. Only clams that are large enough, meet the standards for weight and shell thickness are kept. The rest will be returned to the sea to continue growing. This is not only a way to protect aquatic resources, but also a responsibility to the ocean so that future trips to the sea will still be abundant and sustainable. Each basket of clams, after being carefully selected and inspected, is neatly arranged on the deck. Each basket is the crystallization of hard work and respect for the ocean. Everything is ready, just waiting for the ship to sail, bringing these fresh products to the mainland. A new journey begins, simple but full of value. After a long journey across the ocean, the last baskets of clams are finally brought ashore. At the dock, workers quickly unload and transfer the clams onto the assembly line, ready for the preliminary processing. Each basket is lifted by a machine and taken straight to the modern processing area. The journey from sea to table begins its final stage, where quality and food safety are paramount. From inside the hold, looking out, one can see the relentless rhythm of work. The cranes are still operating steadily, lifting each heavy net high up and then dumping it into the hold. The clamshells fall on the wet deck, creating a familiar sound, dry but full of life. That is the rhythm of the sea, the breath of a new fishing day, silent but full of determination. Amid thousands of stacked shells, skilled hands are still diligently separating each clam. The why? Plump meat, neatly tucked inside the shell, is the most precious part. What makes sea clams a sought-after delicacy? Each knife stroke, each time the shell is turned requires skill and precision. This is the most important step where the true value of the clam is revealed. On deck, the heavy clam nets continue to be lifted by the crane from the deep blue sea. Clinging to each mesh are countless sea clams, the result of a silent journey to the bottom of the ocean. The clanking of iron, the dripping of water, the rumbling of the engine all create the familiar harmony of a successful day at sea. In the hold, the cleaning and packaging process is taking place very urgently. Each bucket of ivory white clams is washed clean, impurities are carefully removed, then quickly put into specialized storage bags. This is the final step before the ship turns back to the mainland carrying the most quintessential products from the sea, ready to be brought to market. A closed cycle, connecting nature and human hands, durable and steady in the vast ocean. Amidst the vast waves, the boat gradually slowed down, a signal that the next net was about to be pulled up. The workers quickly got into position, ready for a new harvest. The cables were stretched. The heavy net gradually emerged from the water. Everyone was anxiously waiting to see what the sea would bring today, a bumper catch of clams, or unexpected challenges from the ocean floor. Right below the ship, the sea suddenly stirred violently. Sharp dorsal fins peeked out from the deep blue water. Sharks had appeared. Drawn by the smell of fresh oysters from the fishing nets, they came, circling and hunting, making the moment of harvest more dramatic than ever. Wild nature was always present, reminding humans that, even if they conquered the sea, they still had to respect its balance. When the sea becomes calm, the fishing trip ends. On the deck, the fishermen quietly look out at the ocean where they have just gone through a hard but valuable journey. Fresh clams have been harvested, memorable moments have been recorded. In the vastness of the sky and water, only the echoes of the waves, the wind, and the hearts of people who have devoted their lives to the ocean remain. See you again on the next trip.